Pop culture paints them as the ultimate glorious heroes of the ancient world, but the real Sparta was a dark, brutal state. Welcome to History Now Studios. We often forge original myths, but today we dive into the terrifying reality of history. The legendary city of Sparta was built entirely upon a massive foundation of fear, total slavery, and endless discipline. To maintain their absolute military dominance, Spartan citizens relied on the brutal subjugation of a conquered population. These enslaved laborers were known as Helots, and they vastly outnumbered the elite Spartan warriors by a huge margin. Now, to prevent a massive rebellion, the Spartan government declared a violent and legal war on the Helots every single autumn. Young adult initiates of the military academy were sent into the dark wilderness armed with nothing but a simple dagger. Their secret mission was to hunt and eliminate the strongest enslaved adults completely under the dark cover of the night. The terrifying tradition known as the Krypteia kept the oppressed population living in a constant state of absolute terror. For the Spartan citizens themselves, life was a deeply relentless and unforgiving test of absolute physical endurance. Now, adult warriors were completely molded in the agoge, a brutal training system designed to strip away their individual ego. They were intentionally given extremely small rations of terrible food, forcing them to learn how to steal just to survive. If a warrior was caught stealing, they were severely punished, not for the theft itself, but simply for being caught then. They walked barefoot in the freezing winters and slept on hard reeds pulled directly from the cold and muddy riverbanks. The society demanded total conformity. Comfort and personal wealth were strictly forbidden by the ancient laws of Lycurgus. They even used heavy, impractical iron bars as their only currency to actively discourage greed and complex foreign trade. Spartan adult women enjoyed significantly more freedom and massive economic power than any other women in ancient Greece. They received intense physical training, managing vast estates while their fierce husbands were out fighting the long wars. Their primary absolute duty to the state was raising the next generation of incredibly strong and invincible soldiers now. Weakness was totally rejected by the highly ruthless and deeply pragmatic ancient society of the great Spartan state today. Marriage was a strict duty, and husbands were fully expected to live inside the military barracks until the age of 30. The phalanx formation was their ultimate weapon, a solid wall of heavy bronze shields and long spears moving as one unit. To break formation in battle was considered the absolute greatest dishonor a brave Spartan adult warrior could ever commit. Surrender was never an option. A warrior was expected to return home totally victorious or dead, carried upon his shield. Yet their massive reliance on the cruel enslaved population ultimately became the fatal weakness of their mighty empire. A deeply devastating earthquake completely leveled the grand city of Sparta in 464 before Christ. Thousands of elite warriors died in the massive rubble, leaving the weakened state highly vulnerable to a sudden rebellion. The oppressed Helots saw their golden opportunity and launched a massive, extremely bloody uprising against their masters. It took the Spartans years of brutal warfare to finally suppress the fierce rebellion and restore their terrifying control. Their isolated culture eventually refused to adapt to the rapidly changing military tactics and new weapons of the Greeks. At the critical Battle of Leuctra, the supposedly invincible Spartan army was completely decimated by the forces of Thebes. The Theban general Epaminondas shattered their ancient lines, destroying the deep myth of absolute Spartan invincibility. The victorious Thebans liberated the enslaved population, permanently stripping Sparta of its massive economic foundation. Without the slave labor to farm their vast lands, the Spartan citizens could no longer maintain their full military lives. The once mighty warrior state slowly faded into dark irrelevance, becoming a mere tourist attraction for the Roman Empire. Today, we romanticize their immense courage and profound discipline, completely ignoring the horrific cost of their power. They built a society dedicated to war, but completely forgot that a rigid sword will easily shatter when it cannot bend. In our original fantasy tales, we often imagine legendary warriors who fight fiercely to protect the weak and the innocent. But the dark truth of human history reveals that the greatest ancient armies were often built on the backs of the broken. The fierce Spartans achieved an absolute historical immortality, fully written in deep blood and cold, unyielding iron now. But their epic downfall serves as a dark and haunting reminder that an empire built upon total fear cannot last eternally. The terrifying myth of Sparta is deeply intoxicating, masking a grim reality of cruelty, pain, and absolute dark tragedy. History Now Studios challenges you to look directly past the glorious myths to find the absolute and unvarnished true fact. Exploring the realms of the ancient past, we learn profound lessons about the absolute cost of ultimate human power now. Subscribe to our channel and join us on this incredible journey through the deepest shadows of both myth and reality.